And the day after PewDiePie video, Johnny Somali wants to sue him, threatens to sue hypocrite PewDiePie for saying he ruined Japan.
The last guy everyone's talked about, this idiot. We'll just blur him and not talk about him, but it's still worth seeing the footage because he's such an idiot.
Yo, Johnny! Johnny, quick interview? No, I guess they don't want to. Johnny!
You almost have to pity Ramsey's lawyer here, because it's obvious Johnny and his little crew on Discord keep pushing these weak arguments his way. Guys, we've got major updates on Johnny Somali. Things have taken a serious turn, and his situation with his attorney is looking worse than ever. At this point, after being hit with 8 criminal charges, Johnny has already admitted guilt to several, leaving just 2 still pending. And the issue? The evidence behind those remaining charges is very strong. Meanwhile, social media is tearing Johnny apart. Even massive creators like PewDiePie seem pleased with the way things are unfolding. Remember, Johnny's been shouting things like Fukushima, Nagasaki, we'll do it again. I'll get into that shortly. Right now, Johnny Somali has stepped straight into the spotlight. His face is out there, and new footage of him leaving court is spreading fast. On top of that, we've learned he's in serious conflict with his attorney, while his next court date in October is shaping up to be the biggest one yet. But here's the issue. Johnny Somali doesn't have a solid defense. And honestly, even a great lawyer, the best lawyer, would struggle in this situation. So, what's really happening with Johnny Somali? Let's break it down in this video. So guys, first take a look at this clip where Johnny Somali was caught on camera while leaving court. The footage comes from Kick streamer Paul Risen, who was actually present inside the courtroom during Johnny's trial. He even shared some shocking details about Johnny Somali that will genuinely surprise you. Now, watch closely as Johnny makes his way out after what could be the biggest defeat of his life in court. Who really knows? Yo, Johnny? Johnny, quick interview? Looks like they don't want to. Johnny? All right, never mind. Chat, they're not interested. As you just saw, Johnny Somali refused to speak on camera, and that's strange. In earlier trials, you might remember him filming himself, often acting in a disgusting manner, but this time he's putting on a fake innocent face. This is honestly the ultimate loser look for Johnny Somali, especially after all the times he bragged about being able to slip away so easily. But now, that's clearly not the case. With his defense falling apart, this is the harsh reality he's facing. Not long after, he was even spotted trying to catch a taxi, but no driver wanted to pick him up. They don't want to be on camera. Looks like they're going for a taxi. Tell him no ice. Honestly, I thought they'd take the subway, but now they're trying for a cab. Maybe he's done with streaming, or who knows? Johnny was in your chat. So in the end, Johnny Somali failed to get a taxi and eventually left the area altogether, refusing to interact with the streamer at all. But later, some big news came from that same streamer. In the next trial this October, 3 witnesses are expected to appear. This upcoming hearing is set to be huge, likely lasting 3 to 4 hours, and it's definitely not going to be good for Johnny Somali. They said 3 witnesses will take the stand on October 29th, and the trial could go on for hours. That's expected to be the big one. But honestly, nothing major happened this time, other than Johnny's changed demeanor. He seemed very different compared to his past trials. Before, he was always acting carefree, almost happy-go-lucky, but this time he appeared far more serious, almost like he's just done with everything. Maybe he's finally realizing the weight of his situation. And now, headlines are popping up everywhere. One of them even reads, PewDiePie's dream comes true as lethal scum Johnny Somali faces 10 years in South Korea for multiple crimes. Now, it's not fully confirmed that he'll actually serve all 10 years, but it's very possible. Right now, PewDiePie is reportedly happy with the latest developments in Johnny Somali's case. This comes from way back when Johnny Somali's behavior in South Korea and Japan had really angered PewDiePie. He even publicly reacted and criticized Johnny Somali, warning him about his actions. After that, Johnny Somali went as far as to threaten PewDiePie, saying he would take legal action against him. Of course, nothing ever happened. It was nothing more than an empty bluff. The very next day, after PewDiePie's video, Johnny started shouting about suing him, calling him a hypocrite for saying he had ruined Japan. This is the same clown everyone's already tired of hearing about. We'll blur his face and move on, but it's still worth showing the footage, just to highlight his stupidity. He even claimed people were treating him like some kind of terrorist. But let's be honest, he's been the one yelling things like Fukushima, Nagasaki, and we'll do it again. So now that Johnny Somali is finally facing the punishment he's been running from, it's no surprise that reports are saying PewDiePie feels relieved about it. The bigger story here, though, is just how weak Johnny's defense looks. His lawyer has actually appeared in my videos before and even admitted that the evidence stacked against Johnny is overwhelming, leaving very little to work with. In his own words, the case is extremely weak. You can see how the narrative online doesn't match the grim reality happening in court. To make things worse, the attorney himself was pressured into this case by Hank Yu's family. Now he's stuck trying to juggle both sides and clearly isn't ready for the next trial. He's under intense pressure, desperately searching for a way to build some kind of defense for Johnny. Even Legal Mindset chimed in, saying he almost feels sorry for Ramsey's lawyer, because it's obvious Johnny and his little crew on Discord keep feeding him these baseless arguments. None of them are lawyers, let alone experts in Korean law, yet Johnny keeps trying to push strategies that simply collapse in a Korean courtroom. The result? Loss after loss after loss. Not even the smallest procedural win. Johnny Somali's legal team walked away completely empty-handed. So, like I said before, Johnny Somali really has nothing left when it comes to his defense. There's simply nothing there. At this point, the only charges he's still fighting are the deepfake crimes, where he pled not guilty. But the problem is, the prosecution has already proven that Johnny distributed clips of those deepfake videos. His lawyer tried to argue that Ramsey couldn't have created the deepfakes, since he doesn't know how to make them. But then the prosecutor cut him off, saying, "So you're denying production, but admitting distribution?" The lawyer doubled down, saying yes, he admits distribution, but denies making them, claiming Johnny was drunk at the time. That's the problem. Even though he keeps saying not guilty, Johnny Somali basically has no real defense left and no way out. And this is despite already pleading guilty to the other charges. By not admitting guilt here, it forces the victims of those deepfakes to actually come into court and testify. That alone drags the trial out another 2 or 3 months. If Johnny just pled guilty, this would all be over much faster. He'd get his sentence, and at least he'd know what's coming. But instead, he's choosing to drag things out for no real upside. And by refusing to plead guilty, he's only making things worse, since it's almost guaranteed to earn him a harsher sentence. From the legal experts I've been following, the current expectation is that Johnny Somali could be looking at a 5 to 8 year prison sentence. To make matters worse, Johnny was also spotted with Hank Yu. Now remember, Hank has been claiming that Johnny doesn't live with him anymore, that he doesn't support him and isn't associated with him. But in court, Johnny admitted that he still lives with Hank and is staying at his house. So, clearly, Hank wasn't being honest. This was yet another humiliating walk of defeat for Johnny after his 3rd trial. At this point, his defense looks incredibly weak, and his lawyer doesn't seem capable of helping him in any meaningful way. Whether that's because of pressure from Hank or simply because the case is too stacked against him, one thing is clear. Johnny Somali's situation is looking extremely grim, and he could be facing some very serious consequences. So, what do you guys think? Is Johnny Somali's attorney actually failing him, or is there simply nothing anyone can do to save Johnny at this point?